There are names that echo not merely through history, but through the very fabric of what it means to live deliberately. Miyamoto Musashi is one of them. Swordsman, philosopher, artist, strategist, but most of all, a man who dedicated his life to a single pursuit, mastery. And not just mastery over his opponents, but mastery over himself. This is the story of the man who became legend not by chasing glory, but by conquering the inner war. This is the way of Miyamoto Musashi, and it may hold the key to your own becoming. To understand Musashi's philosophy, you first need to understand his life. Born in 1584, in feudal Japan, an era soaked in war, loyalty, betrayal, and honor, Musashi fought his first duel at the age of 13. He killed a grown man with a wooden sword, not because he wanted to, but because he understood what was required. From that moment forward, his life would become a relentless series of duels, over 60 by most historical accounts, undefeated in all. But to reduce Musashi to a killer is to miss the point entirely. He wasn't obsessed with defeating others, he was obsessed with mastering himself. In his final years, he retreated to a cave called Vagabond and wrote what would become his most enduring legacy, the Book of Five Rings, a distillation of his life's philosophy. It's not just a manual for swordsmanship, it's a guide for life, and at its heart lies a single, powerful truth. The way is in training, not the outcome, not the victory, the way itself. Musashi's teachings revolve around 5 core elements: earth, water, fire, wind, and void, each a metaphor for an aspect of existence. Earth is foundation, water is adaptability, fire is conflict, wind is perspective, void is the mystery, the formless, the intuitive, the silent power that arises when ego falls away. Let's start with earth. To Musashi, earth represents grounding, discipline, the fundamentals. Before you can be fluid, you must be rooted. Before you can be creative, you must be consistent. He writes, you should not have a favorite weapon. To become overfamiliar with one weapon is as much a handicap as to remain ignorant of it. This isn't about tools, it's about attachment. A warrior, and a person, must be ready to change, to adapt, to let go. Because clinging to the familiar is the first step toward defeat. Next is water. Adaptability. Water takes the shape of whatever contains it. It can crash or it can flow. Musashi teaches that we must observe and react, not from rigidity, but from presence. In combat, this meant reading an opponent's rhythm, their breathing, their emotional state. In life, it means being tuned to the moment. You don't resist reality, you move with it. You find its rhythm and enter it, not as a victim, but as a participant. Then comes fire. Fire is conflict. Passion, directness. Musashi doesn't glorify combat, he understands it. Fire means moving with intention. It means acting when it's time to act. Perceive that which cannot be seen with the eye, he writes. This is not mysticism, it's awareness, sensitivity to what lies beneath the surface. Fire is decisive, but not reactive. Musashi teaches us to act with clarity, not impulse. Wind represents knowledge, but also illusion. Studying the ways of others, not to imitate, but to understand. Musashi studied every school of swordsmanship, not to mimic them, but to see their weaknesses in your own life. This means not blindly copying others' success formulas, but seeing what fits your path, learning without losing yourself. That's the difference between wisdom and mimicry. And finally, the void, the most difficult, most abstract, and most powerful of all. Void is the place beyond technique, beyond conscious thought. It is intuition sharpened by experience. It is emptiness that holds infinite potential. Musashi writes, by knowing things that exist, you can know that which does not exist. When you move beyond form, you enter flow. This is the moment when action becomes art, when discipline becomes expression, when the self disappears and only the act remains. That's the void, and it is the peak of mastery. Now, let's translate Musashi's way into the modern world. You're not fighting duels in feudal Japan, but you are in battle with distraction, insecurity, comparison, and the slow decay of your potential. The question is not whether you'll fight, it's whether you'll train. Musashi's life teaches us that mastery is not a moment, it's a method. It's not about passion, it's about process. And the first principle of that process? Train alone. Musashi often practiced in solitude. He wasn't antisocial, he was pro-depth. In solitude, you confront your ego, you remove the noise, you stop performing and start refining. Today's world is allergic to solitude. We're surrounded by noise, notifications, opinions, constant stimulation. But Musashi knew, clarity comes in silence, depth comes in solitude. Train alone. Not forever, but enough to hear your own mind, enough to discover your own rhythm. Second principle, detach from victory. Musashi didn't enter duels thinking about winning. He thought about precision. Form. Presence. Because when you focus too much on outcome, you become rigid, fearful, distracted. Ironically, the way to win is to stop obsessing over winning. Focus on the next right action, the next right breath. Trust the training. Third principle, learn from all, imitate none. Musashi studied every sword school, not to follow them, but to surpass them. Today, we worship gurus, influencers, and blueprints. But the way of mastery is not mimicry, it's integration. Learn widely, apply selectively, be a student of everything and a copy of nothing. Fourth, embrace discomfort. Musashi chose to sleep on the ground even when luxury was available. He believed comfort made you dull, weak, complacent. This doesn't mean you must suffer needlessly. It means you stop running from challenge, you seek it. Because every edge you avoid becomes a wall, every difficulty you face becomes a door. Fifth, accept death. This may sound dramatic, but it's central to Musashi's philosophy. In every duel, death was a possibility. Rather than fear it, he meditated on it. He carried it with him. Why? Because when you accept death, you stop wasting life. You stop postponing purpose. You move with urgency, with clarity, with focus. Death isn't the enemy. Distraction is. Mediocrity is. Wasted potential is. Musashi lived with death at his shoulder, not to be morbid, but to be awake. Finally, Musashi teaches us this. The way is in training. Not once, not occasionally. Always. Every moment is a form of practice. How you eat, how you walk, how you speak, how you think. It's all training. Because you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to your level of training. And your training is not just what you do, it's how you live. Musashi was not a hero. He was not a celebrity. He was a man who chose the path of relentless refinement. He saw life not as something to enjoy passively, but as something to master actively. And in a world obsessed with shortcuts, hacks, and instant success, his message is more relevant than ever. The way is in training. In every act, every choice, every moment of discipline. You are training for something, whether you know it or not. The only question is, what are you training for? Musashi's teachings transcend mere swordsmanship. They are lessons in how to face the fundamental chaos of life with clarity, discipline, and detachment. One of his most central concepts is no-mindedness, a state in which the practitioner acts without clinging, without overthinking, and without attachment to outcome. This concept closely mirrors the Zen principle of mushin, or empty mind, where action arises spontaneously and harmoniously from a clear and unclouded consciousness. For Musashi, hesitation was death, not only in the arena of combat, but in all aspects of life. To hesitate is to be divided, and to be divided is to be weak. He believed the mind should be like water, adaptable, fluid, but forceful when necessary. This principle of no-mindedness doesn't mean recklessness. It means presence. It means being so attuned to the moment that you can respond instantly, cleanly, and decisively. Think about how this applies today, in conversations, in decision-making, in creativity. Most people are paralyzed by overthinking, but Musashi's path demands that we cultivate a mind that sees clearly, acts precisely, and accepts consequences without clinging to comfort. Another foundational principle is that of embracing hardship. Musashi wrote, "Do nothing which is of no use." This ruthless minimalism wasn't just about cutting waste, it was about cutting illusions. He believed in stripping life down to its essence, forging yourself through discomfort, and learning to thrive without dependency. He didn't sleep in beds, avoided luxuries, and wandered as a ronin not out of lack, but out of choice. He saw comfort as a kind of spiritual poison, something that softens the will and clouds perception. In a world that glorifies ease, Musashi reminds us that excellence demands a willingness to endure what others flee from. His life was proof that discipline is freedom, and that the pursuit of mastery is a lifelong battle against inner weakness. Musashi's 5 rings also serve as a layered philosophy for growth. The Earth Book is foundational. It teaches grounding, strategy, and the importance of positioning, both literally and metaphorically. Are you stable? Are you rooted? Do you know where you stand and why? These questions extend beyond the battlefield into relationships, careers, and internal conflicts. The Water Book teaches adaptability. Water takes the shape of whatever contains it. In the same way, a warrior and a person must be flexible in approach while unwavering in purpose. Strategy without adaptability is brittle. Musashi believed that victory belonged to those who could adjust without hesitation. The fire book is intensity, passion, and decisiveness. In combat, fire is aggression. In life, it's the capacity to act with force and certainty when the time demands it. Too many people hesitate at critical moments. Musashi's fire teaches us that when action is needed, it must be bold and final. The Wind book contrasts Musashi's own style with others, not out of arrogance, but to demonstrate how one must know not only oneself, but also one's environment, one's opponents, and the prevailing culture. To be effective, you must study the field. You must understand not just your path, but how others think and operate. Finally, the Void book, the most abstract, yet most profound. The void is emptiness, not as lack, but as potential. It's the fertile space of all creation, the realm beyond technique, where mastery becomes intuition. Musashi writes that when the warrior becomes one with the void, all technique falls away. There is only the moment, direct, clean, unclouded. This is the highest level of any discipline. When the doing becomes being, think about what this means for your own craft, your own life. Are you stuck in technique, in performance, in mimicry? Or are you moving toward the void, toward the purity of instinct shaped by deep practice? Musashi's life is a mirror for anyone who wants to go beyond mediocrity. He challenges the very root of our laziness, our distraction, our fear of pain. He teaches us that mastery isn't talent, it's a way of living. It's how you train, how you walk, how you speak, how you treat each moment. And yet, Musashi was not a brute. He was an artist, a calligrapher, a philosopher. His sword was an instrument of clarity, but so was his brush. In this, we see his ultimate teaching. The path of the warrior is not destruction, it is refinement, precision, presence. In our world, we separate art and action, spirit and matter, strength and subtlety, but Musashi unified them. For him, the warrior and the poet are not separate, they are the same. One cuts with steel, the other cuts with truth. The lesson is that you must cultivate all aspects of the self. Strength without wisdom is cruelty, and sensitivity without discipline is fragility. The modern world may not demand duels in the street, but it demands something harder. Discipline in a time of distraction, clarity in a time of noise, resilience in a time of comfort. Musashi's path is a reminder that your life is your battlefield, your dojo, your artwork. Every moment is a stroke of the brush, every act is a cut of the blade. How precise are you? How present? How committed? The philosophy of Musashi is not for everyone. It demands sacrifice. It demands self-honesty. It demands that you kill the lesser versions of yourself over and over again, until only the real one remains. That is the duel, not against others, but against your past, your ego, your excuses. So when you hear the name Musashi, do not think only of a warrior. Think of a mirror, one that reflects the cost of true greatness, and the quiet power of someone who has walked through fire and come out with nothing but what matters. In a world filled with distractions, Musashi's silence is thunder. In a culture that sells shortcuts, his path is a warning and a challenge. Will you choose the way of mastery? Will you commit to the lifelong fight of shaping yourself with precision, discipline, and depth? Will you embrace the solitude, the struggle, the sharpening that comes with living deliberately? Because that is the way of Musashi, and it is still alive, not in books, not in legend, but in you. If you dare, now tell me, who are you in the arena of your own life? Are you fighting the right battles? Are you wielding your mind like a blade? Are you practicing in every action, every breath? Or are you drifting, waiting, hoping? The way is not something you stumble upon. It is something you walk, alone, relentlessly, with every step becoming sharper, cleaner, truer. That is the way. That is the call. Now pick up the sword. Begin.